Summertime is heating up at Global Voice Broadcasting. Hot music, hot talk, and hot topics. All day, every day, 24/7. You don't want to miss a minute on Global Voice Broadcasting.
Welcome to YATC Live, the show business show that brings industry pros into the hot seat to answer your questions. YATC Live is brought to you by the Young Actors Theater Camp. And now, sit back, relax, and be ready to take your craft to the next level with YATC Live. Hello and welcome to YATC Live here at GVB Studios. My name is AJ Hamilton, and I'm here with my guest, Tom McLaren, today. Thank you for being here, Tom.
Hi, AJ. It's our reunion. It's good to see you again.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful to see you. We'll get into that, how we know each other, which is, I'm sure, very scintillating.
I'm sure it's fascinating for everyone listening.
Yes, absolutely. We are here asking industry professionals the hard-hitting questions, and I hope that you enjoy this interview. We're taking a break this summer because of the wonderful Young Actors Theater Camp. It's starting next Sunday. Can you believe it? It's going to be amazing. We have 3 sessions. Check the website, www.campyatc.com, or if you want any info, ask Valerie at campyatc.com. That's her email. And she's unfortunately not with us this week, but we will have a wonderful time together, won't we, Tom?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, let's get it rolling. Tom McLaren.
Yes.
Actor. Model. Writer.
It's weird to actually hear my bio being spelled out in front of me. But,
Accept it, man. You are a man of many facets.
Well, you know, when I was driving over here today, I actually thought if I compared my life today with my life 4 years ago today, I have a completely, utterly different life. I never dreamed that I would be working in those 3 categories, and it's amazing for me to hear it out loud. I'm very, very grateful for what's happened to me.
Well, let's get into that. What has happened to you? Let's start way at the beginning. Where were you born? What was your childhood or your life up to now?
I grew up in the Midwest. I was raised in a small farm town in Illinois, to be honest. I was a very shy kid. I was a definite introvert. I knew I wasn't good at sports, and I didn't really have the social self-confidence to really try any of the clubs or organizations. So I didn't do Little League, I didn't do band, I didn't do thespians. I was really only good at academics. I knew I was good at it, so I focused on it and it alone. So I was never the class clown type, which... Actually, were you the class clown type? I think just out of curiosity.
Not at all. I actually found acting when I was about 16 and was still very introverted as well.
Interesting.
It's...
I think it's a misconception. Some people think that actors are just naturally class clown types, and some are, but some are not. So.
I think they're more self-aware. I think they need to know who they are, and sometimes the class clown is just he wears his heart on his sleeve. But a lot of people that don't look into themselves and look at other people, and that's sort of a study in acting and in who a person is.
Yeah, I like that description. I always say that for the young people who are listening, you know, there's hope. You don't have to fit a certain type or a certain mold, and even if you are that quiet little kid at the back of the class, you know, who knows where your life will go. So don't get stuck in a little rut.
If it's in you, it's in you.
Exactly. I always say nowadays that as an actor, I'm the actor who's least likely to do karaoke. So, see, I can do stuff when I've got a job and I'm in front of the camera, but I'm not the type to just go to a bar and launch into Living on a Prayer or anything. That's just not me. I could do that if it was a job, but I just wouldn't do it in real life. So, yeah, it's kind of like break the mold on what people think actors are. There's a lot of different ones, and they fit different personalities, different types, all those types of things.
Well, from the time that you were an awkward teenager to the time that you were just describing, 2011, what happened in between?
Well, because I was really just an academic student, and I focused on book learning and really nothing else. I got on this path early in life, and it was really a path that just led me down a more intellectual pursuit, I guess. I did college prep work in high school, and when I went to college, I got a BBA from the University of Michigan, and I got an MBA from Wayne State University, which is in Detroit. And so I started my life and my career as a corporate business professional. I was trained to be an accounting, finance, managerial professional, and so that's the path that I got on, and it was a very strict and rigid path, and it was very good for me and very good to me, and I stayed with it, but there was something that wasn't quite right. I mean, I was going up the corporate ladder, I was doing all the right things, but I had kind of an awakening, a few years ago, later in life, and I just simply wasn't happy enough. So I had this revelation that I didn't want to be this little 60, 70, 80-year-old guy who kind of walks into the office with the cane and slams the papers down. And it's like, I am.
Gets your golden watch eventually.
Yes, I only want a golden parachute. I don't want a golden watch.
That'd be nice. Absolutely.
But I didn't want to be that guy who was just, grumbling and moaning and groaning. And my wife will tell you that, through most of my adult life, when I would come home from these jobs, I was, bitching and moaning and groaning. I just really wasn't a happy guy. Yeah. So what I did, I basically quit. I just flat out quit. I was working at Warner Brothers. Most of my career was at Warner Brothers in an office job. At the peak, was at the peak, I guess I was the director of budgeting for the studio ops division.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up consulting in many different areas like post-production and financial systems and a variety of other areas. But I guess when I really thought about it, it was 2008, I just wanted to walk away. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yes.
I struggled for a few years. I really struggled trying to figure out what was right. And
now here's a question. Working at Warner Brothers, did that eventually sort of percolate in your mind and say, hey, I'm surrounded by this. I'm surrounded by this business all the time. I would like to get into it. Or did that not factor in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I definitely loved the entertainment industry. One of the reasons I was so glad that I moved from Detroit to New York City for a while, then to Los Angeles, was I wanted to work in showbiz in some capacity. I didn't want to work for the auto industry. I would have been very unhappy if I'd stayed in Detroit. So I was very comfortable and happy in that environment. There was something about being on a studio lot at Warner Brothers that just felt right. But it was just something that I didn't say out loud, and it was only in the back of my mind, and I never pursued it. Yeah. So I told my wife about this maybe 7 or 8 years ago, but I didn't tell anyone else. Wow. And then finally in 2011, I started putting the wheels into motion and things started to change. And I think what ultimately happened was I completely, utterly shocked everyone when I announced that I was going into acting. Yeah. Because what happened was in the fall of 2011, I just had the revelation. I thought, it's a no regrets policy. I'm going to regret this if I don't try it. I've always kind of wanted to be an actor since I was a little kid, but I never had the courage to try. And maybe I'll regret it if I don't give it a shot. So there was one night my wife was working late, and I was sitting in the house, and I had my laptop out, and I Googled acting classes San Fernando Valley. And a few things popped up, and I found a class that was starting a couple days later. I called them and I said, I'm a little bit older. Do you take older actors? And they're like, of course, you can start acting at any age. So awesome. The following Monday, October 3rd, 2011, a day that changed my life forever, I walked into my very first acting class for the first time. I was surrounded by 20-somethings, but I had never acted in high school or college or community theater anywhere. So it was a terrifying experience, and what I suggest to people who are thinking about going into acting, the first thing to really do is get into an acting class and see if you like it. Yeah. See if it actually makes you happy, because it's not for everyone. It is a strange feeling to be in front of an audience, and there's a lot of multitasking that you have to do. It's not just posing. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of depth there. Yeah. So you have to give it a shot and make sure that it feels right. So in the first month, it was kind of an experiment to see whether I was happy. Yeah. It clicked for me pretty fast. So the second question becomes, do you have any type of skill or affinity towards it? And that's a tough one to judge. I say it's in the eye of the beholder. I never really am the sole judge of myself. I can be objective about my work now, but at the beginning, it's very hard.
I'm sure. You
You're
don't know what.
nervous?
You can't get out of your head.
I know.
My God, no.
I know. You have
Ever.
to kind of listen to your fellow students and
Yes.
listen to your
Yeah.
teacher and watch your footage.
Watch yourself. Absolutely.
I highly recommend getting into an on-camera class. I started with the scene study class, but I moved to on-camera pretty quickly, and that's where I actually learned a lot about it. So I say just give it a shot, and if it works, go for it.
So to you, I actually had a question here from Dan Y. He asked if a couple of people actually did. What is the first step in getting into acting? And I think from what you're saying, it's the feeling. You don't have to set up a website or get a Twitter account or all of the little minutia will come eventually.
Right.
But it's more feeling it inside of you, right?
Yeah, it's really having that burning desire. I knew deep down that I had this kind of hidden passion that I wanted to try, and I kept quiet about it. I swear, if I went back to a high school reunion, people would probably say they would probably vote me the least likely to ever be an actor because I was such a wallflower. I was so quiet. I swear most of my high school class probably wouldn't even remember me if I showed up at a reunion. But hey, you got to give it a shot. And what was Dan's question once again? So that I answer it properly?
what's the first step into
sure.
getting into this business? And
well, I would say it really is getting into that very first class.
Yeah.
That's key. I would say focus on the work. Like you said, don't deal with the minutia, the other things until later.
Yes.
You've got to make sure that you enjoy it and that it feels right, that it feels comfortable. Once you get into the class, I say then you can start worrying about the next steps. And when it feels right, then you can go onto the audition circuit. And I recommend get as many auditions as you can possibly get. Book as many jobs as you can possibly get, even if they're unpaid or deferred pay or low pay. You want to build your resume. You want to build your demo reels. You want to do all this prep and all this work so that you're ready if the right opportunity falls into your lap. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff you've got to do before you kind of get your website rolling and get your Twitter account flowing and all that.
So I'm assuming you have done quite a number of the things that you just listed, quite a number of independent films or small student films or stuff like that.
Yeah, what
right?
happened for me, I got very lucky. Having only been in class for a couple of months, I got my first agent pretty fast, who is primarily a commercial agent. And he put me on the circuit right away. And I'm very grateful to him. It's Wild Models Talent Agency. I'm actually still with them for LA casting purposes. Because he got me out there, and he auditioned me. He put me on the circuit very fast. And on my fifth audition, I actually got my first paid professional job, which was a Toyota web commercial. And that's a key moment in my life. That changed everything as well, because it gave me a little shot of confidence. And then I suddenly felt confident enough that I could directly submit myself for jobs through various acting websites, and I could try to get my own work. So I started with student films, and I started with short films, but I found very quickly that was leading to print ads and commercials and music videos and television.
Web series, perhaps.
And yes, I was waiting for you to come to that. Web series pilots, which is where...
That's where we actually met.
There's very few people who know this story, but yes.
You know who does know this story? Our last week's guest, Rich Finley.
Rich is a great guy.
Yes, we all worked together on that.
We were the Three Musketeers or the Three Stooges, depending on your
definitely
interpretation.
Stooges. Absolutely.
That was a fun show. I mean, that was a perfect example. We all had such high hopes, and I thought it was a very funny concept, and we were very, I thought, well teamed.
Gelled well, I think. Yeah.
If there's any producers or writers, call us. All three of us.
We
please.
work super well together. You've got a show already, just right for the three of us.
It's easy. Yeah. We did a lot of improv on that show.
Oh, definitely.
And those of us who've seen it, not many have seen it. It's like, it was fun.
Do you think that? I want to go two different ways.
Okay.
One is about improv.
Yes.
Somebody asked. Noah Baldwin asked where is it important to do an improv class or be involved in improv in general. But then another person asked about rejection. So which way would you like to go?
Okay. Well, actually, let's cover them both because
Yeah.
they're both pertinent subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Improv, I think, is very important. I didn't come up a traditional route. There are people who'll say that you really have to start in theater or you have to start in improv, you have to start with the groundlings. And I don't know that there's really any one answer.
Yeah.
I think it depends a lot on the individual and the training that you get and the people that you end up working with. But I do highly recommend that you get into a class where you do have some improv work. I never took an actual improv class per se. It was never solely focused on that. But in several of my classes, it was like an exercise that we kind of worked on and developed. Yeah. And I found that especially when you're starting out and you're doing a lot of non-union work, that improv is a very key element in terms of the audition process. And sometimes when you actually get the job itself, you've got to do a lot of improv. So I highly recommend it. Everyone should kind of experiment with it in some shape or manner. But I didn't do the traditional way, and I didn't do the groundlings or anything like that. But I'm still very comfortable with it. I like it, and I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at it, but I'm actually pretty comfortable with it. It's something that I think comes with more time and more experience. Now the rejection side, that's also a good question. I mean, I didn't find
because you didn't get much rejection before you got a job, but that doesn't really happen with all of them.
I know.
The actors out
I was definitely lucky. But that aside, I would say I entered this business knowing about the rejection, and maybe it's because I had lived in Los Angeles for a long time. Or maybe it's because I worked at Warner Brothers in an office job, but I knew what the odds were. I thought they were tiny. And I thought, okay, I know rejection's a huge part of it. You just had to basically accept it going into it. Yeah. To be honest, when I started, I never thought I was going to work at all. I thought there's too many people in LA. Yeah. There's tens of thousands of people who are pounding the pavement every single day. And I thought, how am I gonna enter into this business? Will I be lucky enough to get an audition for a little small part in a stage play once a year? Will I get something like that? And I found that it wasn't that way. You can actually take charge of your career, take control of your career, and hopefully you will get that agent. So that's a battle in and of itself, but hopefully you will get an agent. But you can also directly submit yourself on LA Casting or Actors Access or various sites. So you can take charge and put yourself out there, and the more you put yourself out there, the more likely good things will happen to you. So I say, as I said earlier, just go for it, give it a shot.
I had another question. What is your favorite medium to work in? That's Jesselyn.
Interesting. Well, I have the commercial agent. I also have a theatrical agent who's great, and that's Visionary Artists. So I go up for both types of work. I would say I generally prefer the theatrical work, which is more film and television.
Sure.
I find that you have a little more freedom to kind of create a character there. When you do commercial jobs, it is very specific about holding this an inch higher and pivot your body a little bit and make sure you're projecting but still smiling. There's a lot of very specific notes that you get that you have to do, and that's a big challenge in and of itself.
Yes.
But I've found in the film and television stuff that you have a little more freedom. You work with your director, of course, and work within the confines of what the writer's given you, but you've got a little more fun, a little more wiggle room. And so I guess that's kind of what I prefer. I'd love to do more film and television. I've been very lucky to do what I've done. But
yes, you've actually done quite a number of projects on TV. And how many movies have you been in the last 4 years?
I did I had to count this recently when I was updating something. I've been in 13 feature films in less than 3 years. So that's very lucky. And 3 of the films have been really wonderful that have all happened in the last year. And so once again, I'm just fortunate and grateful that I've had a couple really good things fall into my lap.
Well, and speaking of films, you have been in a film called Expelled.
Expelled.
Correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and who you worked with. I'm sure the young viewers out there would like to know some of the names.
I think the young viewers are the ones who are most likely to know Expelled. Expelled was this wonderful little gift. To give you the backstory from like just the actor's perspective,
Please.
This is living proof why you have to go out and get as many auditions as you can get.
Okay.
Because I got this audition in September of 2014, so less than a year ago. And when I first saw it, it looked like just this low-budget indie, and I wasn't quite sure. It's comedy. I'm playing a dad. It's like, okay, I'll just go for it. I went to the audition. It was at the Awesomeness TV offices.
Oh, yes, of course.
Down over the hill in West LA. And I wasn't familiar with Awesomeness TV, but I went in and it seemed great. I auditioned for the director, Alex Coyette, who's a very talented man, and I was the first one up in the audition circuit that day.
Oh gosh, that can have a lot of pressure.
A lot of people think that's a jinx because you're number one and there's going to be 30 guys who follow you, and so if you'll make a really good impression, then
Got to make a mark.
I know. So I was the first one up, and I thought it went well, and I got the offer like 2 days later, and I was in the table read the next day because we went into production the next week. So it was greenlit very fast, and production was a go. So Expelled was just this amazing thing. After the table read, I started Googling Awesomeness TV, and I realized, oh, okay. I wasn't really that familiar with the YouTube generation, the YouTubers and the Viners and all this.
Yeah, all of that.
And it's
social media craziness.
It's huge.
Yes.
And I just really wasn't that aware of it. I had heard of these things, but I really wasn't that aware of it. So this movie was a tremendous gift that I am so grateful for. It's always... I actually ran into the director yesterday. I ran into Alex yesterday, and I told him it's always going to have a little gold star on my resume right next to it because it's been so good to me and good for me. But basically, it's a Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but for the new generation.
Very cool.
And the new generation, the teen idols are not the movie stars, TV stars, singers that maybe when I was a kid. They're the internet people.
Yes.
They're the YouTubers and the Viners. So our lead in this movie is Cameron Dallas.
Yes.
Who I was not familiar with until I actually did the movie, but that's simply because I've not been on Vine.
Yeah.
I'm not one of the 7 million plus people who follow Cameron on Vine.
I am not one of those.
I was going to ask,
either.
did you
No.
ever go on Vine?
No, I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've watched a couple of compilations where it's just a whole bunch of people, and it's very fascinating how they tell a story within 6 seconds.
Yes.
But I could not tell you a single one of them. I couldn't recite to you. But I'm sure the kids of today, with the short attention spans and the things, jumping from one to one, and a better memory than possibly you or I,
my memory's
they
not what it used to
probably, those are the quotable things for them these days.
I know that
now.
attention span thing is very valid, but I was shocked to discover that it is a 6 second. It repeats over and over and over.
Right.
6 second loops, the word I'm looking for.
Yes,
there.
that's right.
But it's very popular, and you have to be very smart and very funny and have excellent editing. And Cameron Dallas and Marcus Johns, who play both my sons in the movie, they're masters at this. And if you watch their Vines, they pack a lot into 6 seconds. It's just really that good.
Yes.
So the movie's really about these social media stars. We've got 5 or 6 of them in the movie, and they're the leads. And also one of the leads is Matt Shively, who has worked with your organization as well in the past.
That's right, yes.
And Matt plays Cameron's best friend. So the movie... it was just amazing. So we shot it fast. They went through post-production fast. We got released fast.
Wow.
We got released in December of last year, and we had a limited theatrical in New York, LA, and Dallas. But the biggie, we went to digital a couple days later.
Okay.
So we launched on iTunes on December 16th. And now, bear in mind, there's no big marketing spend behind this.
No.
Awesomeness is owned by DreamWorks Animation, and they're distributed by 20th Century Fox. But it doesn't have the traditional TV advertising and print advertising and all that stuff. They only really did social media. They did a little promotion right after the theatrical premiere. They sent the kids to New York and the other cities, but it didn't have that big spend. So suddenly we open on iTunes on December 16th. We went to number 1. We were the best-selling movie in the entire nation. I have a screen snap of this somewhere because we beat out Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
I should put that on my resume, right?
absolutely.
We beat out
better than Chris Pratt. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. For once, yeah.
Yes.
We beat out The Equalizer.
My goodness.
I think The Maze Runner and Elf and various other movies were in there. And
Wow.
so it was just this stunning moment. It showed the power of these social media stars
Mm-hmm.
and what they can really accomplish. Their fans are so devoted, and they love these guys so much that
Mm-hmm.
the word spread, and they downloaded the movie, and we went to #1. And it wasn't a flash in the pan, which is what the interesting thing was.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed in the top 5 for a couple weeks, the top 10 for a couple more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we stuck out there, and we became a true digital hit at that point. And it's just been amazing. The bulk of our audience has definitely come from iTunes, which is now worldwide. We've been
Yes.
released in other countries. We're now on Netflix worldwide. We're in various countries there.
Fantastic.
So we're just kind of everywhere. And
Wow.
Expelled, it's starting to hit the radar of the industry. The studios are sitting up and taking notice of this, obviously, because it's something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's a transitional time where it's kind of a new concept coming in, and it's kind of a test to see whether it'll work or not work.
Mm-hmm.
And Expelled is the first example, and it was successful, and it made a lot of money. And I know that it's creating a flow of similar movies
Yeah.
from Awesomeness TV and various other companies. So it is kind of the next wave of the future. So
Yeah.
for anybody who dismisses this because, that's just social media stars and it's just not, it's not the traditional actor route that
Right, yeah.
some people take, but don't dismiss it because
Well, it's quality
they're-
stuff,
They're
too.
huge. And,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
talent there.
Absolutely. Now, you and I were actually talking. We talk off the air too every once in a while, but
Believe it or not.
we were talking about social media the other day and talking about likes and how necessary Twitter is and Instagram and all of that stuff. So what you're saying is really it's almost becoming an integral part to have. I mean, not necessarily for all actors, but it's good to create a buzz, good to have a presence out there.
I agree.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Even if if you're just starting out and you're kind of a no-name actor. I mean, I'm an unknown actor, but it's like if get started and get it rolling. Your numbers will grow, and someday you may need those numbers.
Yeah.
So that's what I would really recommend is going to Twitter and Instagram and
Yeah.
Facebook public page and do all of those things and let it grow and let it develop. And maybe you'll develop a little base that'll kind of be interested and follow you. And
Yeah.
you have to get really big numbers to hit the radar of certain things. But
Naturally.
what I have found
get
is,
offered it.
Yeah, I know.
Just, hey, you, 7 million followers.
Yeah.
You want a movie? Oh, sure.
That's kind of an easy one. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for the rest of us, I know there is hope, though. I mean, and I'm sure you've seen this as well. You know that casting people for some of the lower-budget independent films, they will look you up online. They will see if you've got a website. They will see if you're on Twitter and Instagram, and they will check all that because it's just a great resource where you've got all this information in one place. And
Absolutely.
they'll look at your followers, your numbers, but they'll also look at the material and the kinds of things you're
professionalism
publishing.
also.
Exactly.
Now, I think that's an interesting thing to tell children, not necessarily to spend all of your time on social networking, and it's getting more natural for them, but I think there does have to be a bit of a discipline to it. Just as you would go to a class, you have to work on, hey, I'm going to schedule out when I do my tweets, when I do my social media type
Yes.
thing, updating, spending like a day a month updating your website or something like that.
Yes.
I just think that it's another facet of it because we're a business. I think we've talked about that as well before in our discussions. Clandestinely.
Yeah. I told you. Yeah, I am my own small business, which is
Yes.
basically true. And as far as social media goes, it's just one of the elements that has become part of. Well, maybe not my daily life, but almost my daily life.
Sure.
I spend a little bit of time on it almost every day, and announce the latest thing or publish the latest thing, or just share hopefully something entertaining. I'm trying to kind of just build that interest, and it doesn't have to be solely about me, but it can be about things that I'm interested in, and
course.
there's all sorts of fun things that you can do. But
Actors are human too. We
Yeah, oh,
have
yes.
other interests, right? We
it's
have other
not all
facets.
about us. I know some people think actors, it's all about us, but no, we've got our favorite actors and our favorite movies and our favorite interests, and it's kind of fun to share that with other people. And social media should be social. So to do my quick plug, I mean,
go
you
ahead.
probably got it on your screen. I am on
Yes.
Twitter and Instagram at Tom McLaren1.
Yes.
And I do have a Facebook public page, which is my name. You can search it under my name, actor/author, or you can type in facebook.com/Tom McLaren page. I like to interact with people. So if someone sends me a message, I do reply. I do direct message. I do comment. So I welcome any and all inquiries. I think social media should be social. I know some actors fall in this category where it's like, I'm just going to put my stuff out there and I'm not going to talk to anybody. And, like my number of followers should be bigger than my number of following. There has to be a huge gap to show how important and famous I am.
Look at how selective I am.
Oh, yes, I know. There's so many actors who are like that. I don't follow that philosophy. I think if someone is kind enough to reach out to me, I do reach back. So.
And there's always the block button if they're rude.
I did have to use it once.
I'm sure.
Just once.
We don't have to get into it if you don't want to. Sounds scandalous.
Not really.
Speaking of your response and your responsibility to your Twitter followers, somebody tweeted you a question.
Oh yes,
when we were promoting this show,
I got a tweet from Sean who asked what my favorite role to date was, and that's a great question. I've been involved in some wonderful movies, and certainly Expelled is one of them. And there's a couple Fox films that I would love to plug in a minute. But
absolutely,
I would say my favorite role to date is a project that also is coming this fall, and I'm playing Renfield. Now, if you know classic
Renfield.
Do you know Renfield?
Dracula.
Yes.
Of course.
If you know
that's
classic
fantastic.
Dracula literature, classic Dracula entertainment, I'm playing Renfield in a new audio drama series called The Dracula Files.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's a new spin on an old classic, and it's a series. We've got multiple seasons planned. We've filmed all of season 1. That was a dream role for me.
Wow.
Because when I was a kid, the first movies that really made an impact on me were those black and white Universal horror movies.
Love to go back and check those out.
Oh, I've got them on DVD. I've got them on Blu-ray, actually. So the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula is still one of my favorites. And my only hope with this wonderful project that fell into my lap, I can't believe I actually got this project, but my only hope is to pay respects to the great actor Dwight Frye, who created Renfield back then, and it's such a choice role, and I'm so lucky to be in that project. I can't wait. It'll come out this fall. It's actually going to launch, I believe, on Halloween on October 31st.
Great timing.
So we'll see where that goes, and I think there's various websites that it's going to go to, but I'm very excited about that, which I know I'll talk about myself some more. I've got to plug my 2 Fox films.
Excellent.
I've had some really wonderful things that have happened to me in the last year, and if there's any kind of message, stick with it. You never know when something good's going to come along. The first couple of years, I really paid my dues, and I did everything that was offered to me. Everything. And I got a little more selective in the past year or so, and I still worked. It was amazing. I still managed to work, and I had these
even being selective.
Even being selective. It's interesting, and I don't know if that's a function of maybe having a bigger resume and maybe having those demo reels out there. Or it could be pure coincidence. It could just be luck and timing, which is one of the factors in our biz.
I think what you do is you take, as you were saying, to start, you take everything in.
Yeah.
You take everything that you possibly can, and then when you get a little more stable, get a little more confident in the things, you can chip away at that like a piece of marble and create a career.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think so. I mean, I've learned something from every single job that I've done, even if it's just this little tiny print ad or whatever. There's something about being in front of the camera and, acting. I know I'm getting on a side subject here, but acting is very different whether you're in a class or whether you're at an audition or whether you're in front of a crew of professional people. So you actually have to get experience in all 3 areas. The more the better, because it feels different every single time, and every job I've learned a little something from it. So maybe all that does add up, and you're better prepared for when the opportunity comes along. Because these 2 movies that I want to mention, they're very high profile from my perspective, certainly, and I think if I had gotten these at the very beginning of my career, it would have scared me to death. Thank God I had some experience under my belt, and maybe it better prepared me for it. But I've got I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but 2 films from 20th Century Fox coming out this fall. First up is The Exorcism of Molly Hartley, which is a horror film. It's the sequel to The Haunting of Molly Hartley, which Fox released in 2008, I believe. It starred Chase Crawford from Gossip Girl. So this should be released in time for Halloween, probably in October. The fun thing about this movie, I got to work opposite our lead actor, who is Devon Sawa, who I am a huge fan of his because he was in the original Final Destination.
That's right.
Did you see that?
I love that series.
Yeah.
That when I saw that, it was such a revelation. It's sort of like a reinventing of a bit of side genre.
Yes.
You know, that was so cool.
It was a wonderful franchise, and the scene in the first movie, which is so memorable, is when for those who've seen it, it's when the airplane takes off and it explodes, and then the glass breaks in the airport. I mean, there are just some iconic images in that movie, and it's just amazing. So Devon is our lead, and what a great guy. I was in awe to be in his company. I'm working with this just incredible actor, and he's a nice guy to boot. So I'm very lucky for that. And then right after that, I just did a movie a couple weeks ago, to be honest, which is going to come out for Christmas. This will probably be in November, in time for Christmas. And this is a
the
fun...
fall has a big promise for you.
I know. I had a
fantastic.
big fall. We'll talk about the book. I had a big fall in
please.
2014 with the book and Expelled, and the next fall.
Of course.
So maybe the fall is my time. But wouldn't that be nice? Knock wood from your lips to God's ears, as they say.
Absolutely.
But this movie is a fun family movie called Santa's Little Helper. It is co-produced between Fox and the WWE. Okay. And I got to work with our leading actor in that as well, and that's Mike the Miz Mizanin, who is a true WWE superstar. Are you a WWE guy?
I am on the fringe, but I do enjoy it. I actually interviewed him on the red carpet.
No kidding.
Yes, at
the Miz.
Yeah, I cannot remember. I've done so many.
Oh, I know you have. Oh, that's funny.
I think it might have
he
been...
He has a movie that was just released, but I'm sure he's been out there on the circuit for WWE and various entertainment events. So he's been out there. He's a great guy. I know he's got this bigger-than-life personality. In real life, he's just a great guy, and he's very talented, and I'm so lucky that I got to work with him.
Wow.
We have our fingers crossed for that movie. So both of these films, long story short, will be released on digital HD, Blu-ray, and DVD this fall. So back to back. So I know it's been a quite
Keep your
a year.
eyes out for those guys.
I'm a lucky,
wonderful,
lucky guy. I say lucky and fortunate and grateful a lot, and that's because I am.
That's very cool. Speaking, you just mentioned another piece of luck that is really, really...
It fell into my lap, too.
Well,
yes.
But you've run with it. That's pretty fantastic.
I have a book that's been published by a major publisher, so yeah.
Indeed.
I'm lucky. I'm going to use I won't reuse the words again, but I am.
Well, before we do that, we have a clip to set up what we're about to talk
set up
about.
The book, absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead.
It's called Styling the Stars because it is the continuity photographs, hair, makeup, wardrobe shots of the stars before they go on the set to perform.
Catching the stars at a candid moment just before they go in front of the film cameras. So you're seeing them at this rare moment that wasn't intended to be seen by the public. It's not a publicity photo. It's them just doing their job.
The idea of the book started...
Yeah. Cool. That is such a cool concept for a book. Now, like, where did you come up with this?
Well, this is amazing. The idea started with my co-author, Angela Cartwright, and she gave me a call in the spring of 2011, so it was just before I started acting, so that was definitely a key year for me. My co-author, as I mentioned, is Angela, and everyone knows Angela because she was in the classic feature film The Sound of Music. Of course. Who hasn't seen The Sound of Music? So she played...
Not I.
You've seen it, yes, of course.
Oh, of course.
Of course, okay, good.
Naturally.
She played Brigitte Von Trapp, so she was one of the middle girls in the movie. And Angela's just the best person. I can't say enough nice things about her. I'm so grateful that she gave me that phone call. I was a fan of Angela long before I was a friend because when I was a kid, and this is going to date me, but I did see the show in reruns. I didn't see it when it first aired. But I grew up, my favorite childhood TV show was the 1960s sci-fi family adventure called Lost in Space.
Lost in Space.
Warning, warning, Will Robinson. You remember that show? Oh, God. You do know it. Okay.
Yes.
I worry that the young kids maybe don't know it, but they can watch it on MeTV if they really want to see it.
There's also the wonderful movie version with Matt LeBlanc.
Yes.
And Gary Oldman.
Yes. I had hopes that was actually going to turn into a franchise. But
it just was not accepted very well. I think
I hear rumors that the franchise could come back someday. So
are you going to be?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Dr.
Well, I am.
Oh.
I do know the gentleman who is involved. So
do you?
Once again,
push
from
for
your
that
lips to God's ears. Oh my
yes.
God! Would that be if I could be in like a Lost in Space reboot or an X-Files reboot? I mean, would I be the happiest?
Well,
camper?
that's something that everybody's going to be auditioning for next year.
Oh yeah. Well,
the X-Files
actually,
is
no.
coming out.
No,
yeah.
right now to get on a side subject. Yeah, to be honest, my agent submitted me for a recurring on the X-Files reboot. And I didn't get the audition. We heard through the grapevine that an offer was out. And I just read the part that I was submitted for went to Joel McHale.
That's an awesome company to be in.
I know. It's like,
that's fantastic.
I could say, well, I didn't get the job, but Joel McHale got the job.
Beat me out for it.
Yeah, I didn't even get the audition because Joel had his foot in there first. But hey, I love Joel McHale.
I think the problem was you didn't have a high enough forehead.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm not tall enough and I'm not muscular enough. I love Joel
No,
from
he's
Community.
fantastic. Oh, I love him.
I was just at a
The
community
soup,
event a couple days ago, actually.
Shut up, really?
For the finale. They did something at the ArcLight. So the whole
fantastic.
cast was there. And the next day, Joel's big news got announced. So,
wow.
so good for him. But anyway, Lost in
Sorry,
Space.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, what a great franchise. My favorite show, and Angela became a friend of mine. I'm also good friends with Marta Kristen, who played Judy Robinson in the show. Wow. They're both my very good friends. They're wonderful ladies. And so Angela called me and said she had this idea. She had been to the Fox Archive, and she knew that there were these photos in the archive. And if I actually just
hold
the book up and show you, this is
a little to the right,
this is,
your
like
left.
that, or Mila over here?
Yes.
There we go.
Perfect.
This is Marilyn Monroe, of course, and she's holding a note card here in her hand. And this means that this photo was for hair and makeup purposes.
Okay.
And on the back of the book, we have the legendary Cary Grant.
Ah, yes.
And he's standing next to the chalkboard placard, and that means that this photo was for wardrobe purposes.
Oh, I see.
So Angela discovered that the archive has these continuity photos. So they're really for internal studio usage. They were never intended to be seen by the public. Most of them have never been seen, never been published. They're really just to make sure that the look is consistent scene to scene. So if Marilyn's, filming this scene, across a couple days, which she probably was, you've got to make sure that the hat and the earrings and the jewelry and the fur and the hair, everything is exactly the same every single day.
Not a hair out of place.
Not a hair out of place. It's all got to be consistent. So the archive, wow. So we go down to the archive, and it's like, if you're a collector or a movie geek like me, it's like,
I can't imagine.
it's like being a kid in a candy store,
Yes.
toy store. There are at least 8 million unique images in the archive. That was the estimate given to us. So you walk in, and it's literally, this goes back to my college days, it's like the stacks of a library.
Sure.
So they're just floor to ceiling, and they're on rollers, and it's just box after box after box, thousands and thousands of boxes.
How do you even start that?
It's hard. It's hard.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we wanted to cover as many great movie stars and great movies as we could.
Okay.
And these photos, this is the pre-Polaroid era, the pre-digital era. So we're really looking at the 1930s to the early 1970s.
Okay.
So we kind of looked at that era, the golden age, and said, let's get as many of the good ones in as we can. And fortunately, we discovered that almost every major actor of that golden era did at least one film for 20th Century Fox.
Wow.
So we had our wish list, and we thought, let's attack this, and this, and see what we find. And we got basically 99% of the people that we were looking for, because everybody touched there. I mean, even though Humphrey Bogart is a Warner Brothers star, Betty
right.
Davis too, I suppose, they did stuff for Fox as well. So to name drop a couple, try to cover all the eras, because hopefully The young viewers will know some of these people, but certainly their parents' generation, their grandparents' generation, everybody
And
will know.
certain ones are timeless.
Some are timeless.
Will be, there will be metaphors about them forever, or there will be
they're legendary actors.
Yes,
They're icons. So we start with certainly Shirley Temple, but we go to Humphrey Bogart and Joan Crawford and Gene Tierney, Robert Mitchum, Paul Newman, Robert Redford, Anne Margaret, Raquel Welch, Audrey Hepburn, Doris Day, Lana Turner, Marlene Dietrich.
Oh my God.
The list goes on and on. Barbara Stanwyck, Robert Wagner. There's some television stars in here as well. We've got Farrah Fawcett's first movie. My dear friend Susan Blakely, who was in The Towering Inferno, is in the book. So we've got this wonderful representation of just all the classic movie stars who went through Fox. So odds are, if you've got your favorite movie star or your favorite movie from Fox, odds are it's in the book. We've got wonderful sections on certain spotlight films. So there's multiple pages on films like Cleopatra, Butch Cassidy and the...
That's fascinating.
Oh yeah, there's
Wow.
a great picture in there of Joan Collins, who tested for the role of Cleopatra. It's a stunning picture. You actually have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
But we got Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and The Sound of Music, of course, because of Angela's connection to that film, and some great other movies. The Young Lions, which has got Dean Martin, Montgomery Clift.
Oh, man.
It's just, and
I was born in the wrong era, man.
Marlon Brando.
Oh, so cool.
I know, it's
such a great
fun.
time. Such a great time period for cinema.
I would have
I
loved
think.
to have been on the lot at that time. I look back and it's like, oh my God, what a magical era. If only I had been a kid on that lot when they were doing The Sound of Music or Lost in Space or something like that. Because Angela's just she's right around my age, just a little bit older than me. And if I had been there and I'd been the little kid seeing my idols doing Lost in Space, it's like, oh my God, it was just amazing.
Oh, that's so cool. Where can we pick up your book?
Yes, the book was published by Insight Editions,
Okay.
and the plus of having a major publisher like that is that we're in bookstores worldwide, everywhere.
Great.
And
if they exist anymore, right?
There's a few, yeah, fortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a few Barnes & Nobles left here in LA,
Sure.
but there's a few, and I know we're all over the world. We're in the UK and Australia and Europe and various places, and we're certainly available online everywhere.
Sure.
And we have... We've had wonderful press coverage for the book. So we've been covered in the New York Times, LA Times, Entertainment Weekly, Closer Weekly, Huffington Post, Parade. I did a live interview for CBS This Morning, which was a moment in time for me.
Wow.
So if anybody wants to know more about the book, my wife, Mary, did this amazing job. She's my webmaster. She's so supportive and so wonderful and was with me for so many things. And she cuts my demo reels. She does everything. And she does my own website.
Good team.
Oh, she's great.
Very cool.
And she put a link up there, or a page up there called Book Press, I believe. And
That's right.
she has consolidated all the stories, and the CBS This Morning link is up there as well. So if anybody wants to learn more about the book or see the full version of what that book trailer was that you showed the clip of, that's
Yes.
out there as well.
And your website again?
The website is my name. It's tom-mclaren.com.
Great. Excellent.
Thank you for the plug.
Of course, man. That's why you're here. Because you are so multifaceted. I just love it.
Cut it out.
No, I will not. Blush more. Do it. I insist.
I do still blush, yeah. So you can make
okay.
me do that.
Oh, I've seen you blush a couple times.
Yeah.
Oh,
There was that one scene in
silly,
that
silly
web series
stuff.
pilot, but well, that's another story.
Indeed.
You can't be shy if you go into acting. I mean,
No.
it's kind of an interesting.
You have to
thing.
break through it at least.
You have to. That's right. Because
Yeah.
I'm contradicting myself because I am basically a very shy person. But
Yeah.
there's something about being in front of that camera, and I can do things in front of the camera that I wouldn't normally do. For example, I can't dance. I'm not a dancer.
Okay.
If I have to go to a wedding, it's like, oh God, do I have to get up and dance now in front of people? But I can do it at an audition, and I can do it at a job. So whether it's dancing or stripping down to my underwear, there's a variety of things that I've had to do. You wouldn't think that I could do, but lo and behold, I can. So just kind of get past your shyness. And just
It's like
realize
a workout. You sort of have to get past that point where you're like, oh, my muscles hurt. Well, my shame is gone.
Exactly.
Something.
The more you do it, the more you get used to it.
Yes.
It's really hard because actors, the stereotype is that they're all insecure, but you have to kind of get past the feeling of overanalyzing yourself and worrying so much about what people think of you because you are what you are. You're going to bring your own personality through in everything that you do, and everyone's got a certain demeanor and a certain look. So you are going to be in a certain category, and you've got to kind of accept, if you're likely to be cast as the nerd, embrace that, because nerds are now cool. They weren't when I was a kid, but they are now cool, and there's a million parts out there that are for the nerds. So this kind of ties back to something that Rich said in his podcast, which was a great podcast. I really enjoyed that one. Everyone's got kind of a category, and you really should focus on that. Everyone wants to go into acting, and they want to do Shakespeare, and they want to do this, and they want to do that. But my recommendation when you start out is find out what your category is and focus on it. Develop that wheelhouse that you can go to, because you will be cast in that category most often, especially if you're a relatively unknown or a completely unknown actor. When you become a name, if you're so lucky and so successful, then maybe you can branch out and you can do Othello or something like that. But not everybody can do that.
As long as you're black.
Well,
come on.
Okay.
I mean, Olivier has to be the last one.
You're putting
too.
some caveats on my point here, so I don't know. It's kind of tough.
I'm sorry.
But
no, of course.
But do try to figure out what you're right for. Like for me, I mean, for people who are looking, it's like maybe you can see this or maybe you can't see it. But I get a lot of businessmen, doctors, lawyers, teachers and professors, husbands and dads. I don't get a lot of, kind of the renegade boyfriend, and I'll never be cast as a construction worker,
Probably not up for Thor.
Not up for
Chris Hemsworth.
I don't look good
off.
in a long blonde wig.
Right.
That's just not me. So you've got to embrace, the thing. I've heard this in class, and I've seen it on videos. It's like, whatever you don't like about yourself, that's actually likely to get you your jobs. So if you're the nerd, or if, you're the space cadet, or whatever you are, that could be gold. So go for it.
I think that's a wonderful sadly, note to leave it on.
Is it that time?
It is, unfortunately, that time.
Is the music going to cue me out?
Well, you refuse to wear the earphones, so you're not hearing that. No,
I'm like
kidding.
Zach Braff.
There's not.
I don't want that. I need that hair helmet so that my hair doesn't.
Completely understand. Yeah, no, it screws my. I just.
But you look wonderful. So
stop.
you look wonderful with and without. So.
Oh, shush. Hey, this is me trying to make you blush.
Yeah. See, and I feel I am blushing. I don't know why, but I am.
It's all right. Is it a little hot? No, it's fine.
It's just
well, it's been a wonderful pleasure to have you this afternoon. Thank you so much, Tom.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I had a blast, and it's so great to have a lengthy time to chat about the biz and chat with you once again.
I think this has been incredibly valuable for everyone listening and viewing online, and I really appreciate you being here. One more time for the plugs. Where can people reach you?
Yes, Twitter and Instagram at TomMcLaren1. The website is tom-mclaren.com, and you can find me on Facebook public page as well. So
wonderful.
Check it out. I'll try to put some good, interesting links up there for you, and we'll see where it goes.
We'll all be following you.
Oh, yeah. I think you are, and I'm following you.
Yes.
So would you like to plug your stuff?
Oh,
Do
no.
you ever get to plug your stuff on the show?
I'm the AJ23 at Twitter. Or at I'm not good at this. I'm still
but
working on that.
But you're very, very funny. People should follow you. Trust me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to everyone. Our affiliate sponsor, Young Actors Theater Camp, and thank you to Gabe Harder for engineering. And we will see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
The Young Actors Theater Camp is home.
Family.
Amazing.
Family. Yatika's love.
Theatrical.
Wonderful.
Incredible. I would describe it as fun.
Camp!
If I was to describe YATC, I'd say that you are about to come to an amazing place for 11 days where you will have the most fun of your life learning about acting, singing, dancing, choreographing, directing, improv, scene study, film lab, the list goes on and on and on. It's a place that I wished I had had when I was a kid, and that's why we started it.
I finally found a spot for my son to be able to be free, who he is, express himself the way he likes to express himself, and not be ridiculed for it.
I've learned that I can really be myself.
I'm perfect the way I am, and I learned that people can accept me for that, and people will accept me for that.
YATC is just a place where you get to hang with your family and do what you love with your family.
YATC means to me just actors coming together to help each other and to help each other grow as actors and actresses.
My favorite class to take at YATC is probably the master classes, because you get to work with people who have been in the business and who are famous.
To me, YATC really means collaborating with industry professionals to help both parties grow to be better actors, performers, and people.
It's a great place to learn, a great place to grow, a great place to have fun and just be yourself.
I'm grateful that you have this camp, and it's a wonderful experience.
She's got a team of mentors now, and I feel like she is in great hands whenever she's there.
It's really great to be in a place where everyone loves what you love as well, because being in high school, not a lot of people like theater as much as I do.
To me, the most valuable lesson that I've learned from camp is to be myself and never let anyone tell me anything else.
When she came back from the first camp telling me that they got it wrong, that Disneyland was not the happiest place on earth, that Yadok was truly the happiest place on earth.
It's chaotically brilliant in the sense that you have a lot more freedom than you have at different camps, but they structure it in a way so everyone has something to do.
We have such amazing choreographers and vocal coaches that it's so cool to see, you know, what they can bring out of the kids and what they can bring out of me too, because I like to take the class as well.
Each session is a group of people who are getting together to collaborate and do what we love.
It's just the most loving, nurturing environment there is.
Great friendships, you learn so much. I mean, it's a great experience.
Everyone supports you and everyone wants you to do well.
This is one of the best experiences I've ever been through, and you should definitely go because it's going to be so much fun.
You are going to absolutely love it here.
The Young Actors Theater Camp will change your life.